Child, I done watched The Banker on Apple TV, and we about to talk about it. So first off, hey guys, it's me, Danny. Welcome to the channel if you're new here. And if you ain't, ride out with me. Okay, so subscribe to the channel if you have not already. Don't worry about it. I'm here for you. I'm ready to get some conversations going. Let's get into it. I watched The Banker. It's on Apple TV. If you have Apple products, Apple TV is offered. Yes, there is a subscription for it. Some people saying they got it for free for whatever reasons. I don't know how. I did get it free. I don't remember how I got it because my year is almost up. But because I got it, I'm out here and I'm watching it. Now, The Banker had Samuel L. Jackson, Anthony Mackie, Nicholas Hoult and Nia Long were the, I'm sorry y'all, I'm reading it because I'm trying to get all this stuff done. Okay, so they were all the characters in this movie. Anthony Mackie plays this guy named Bernard Garrett. Bernard Garrett is married to Nia Long's character, who is Eunice Garrett. Okay, Bernard has saved up some money and he wants to purchase property, and so he goes about trying to purchase property. Some things work. It's kind of spoiler alertish. It ain't all the way spoiler alertish because I ain't got the time, child. I'm trying to push these videos out, but I will say this. I will give you, like a synopsis. How about we do it that way? Okay, so he wants to buy some property. Of course, this was based in the 1960s. They wasn't trying to sell no property, no black people. And especially because Bernard wanted to buy property that was in white neighborhoods. Child, come on now. Goals. Can we say hashtag goals? He had goals, y'all, which meant it was going to cost him even more money to get those properties. But what he learned was that if he had a white face to his company, then it would be easier for him to purchase properties. He tried it one time with one person. He was making a lot of money. They bought a lot of property, but he didn't have anything in writing and he didn't have his name on any of those properties. And that white guy passed away. And so once that white guy passed away, he didn't have any way to prove that he owned those properties, that he was a part owner of those properties. So that money that was going to be made from the rent from those properties was no longer going to him. So he basically got burned and he had to come up with another plan. So he teamed up with a local club owner or something. This ended up being a black guy who is the character Samuel L. Jackson played. His name is actually Joe Morris. They then started a real estate company. They still needed a white face is how they felt. So they got this guy that they knew from the factory and he was the face. They had to teach him how to speak property and investment lingo, and they also had to teach him how to play golf so that he could schmooze with the schmooze. I think it's schmooze. So he could schmooze with the white property owners and the people that they wanted to buy, the bankers and all of those kind of things that they needed the money for to purchase these properties. And so it took them about a month to teach this white guy how to talk to these people enough to be able to sit in a room alone, because black people can't sit in a room with these deals going on. And so they did. They purchased a lot of property, but what they really wanted to do was buy a building that owned the bank that Bernard at one point wanted to get a loan from, but they wouldn't let him get a loan because he's black. So what he decided to do was, if I buy the building that the bank is in, which also housed a couple of other banks, then the banks will be more susceptible to give loans to me or other black people, because they already know my money is good, because the banks are paying me money to rent out my space for them to, run their business. So under the guise of a property name, a company name, and a white front man, they bought a bank. That bank made them a lot of money. Then Bernard wanted to go back to his hometown of Texas and purchase 2 more banks, I believe. So they bought a couple of banks. They, were starting to make loans to black people. who had like, you know, mom and pop businesses and whatnot. Everything was mom and pop back then, but they started to give loans to black people, and it was helping to thrive the company. It also was good because they were buying the buildings. They were not buying banks. They were buying buildings that the banks belonged to, that the buildings were housed in initially. But then they did actually, I believe, buy a bank. Okay. And they did this for a while. They were giving out loans. They were doing all kind of things. But I started to get upset because I was like, okay, hold on. Is this another white savior movie? Because y'all don't know, I don't like white savior movies. So I was like, I'm not in for it. I'm not here for it. I don't know if I got time for another white savior movie. And so I was just like, I'm not in the mood. But so I turned it off. I ain't gonna lie to y'all. Halfway through, I was like, oh, okay, I understand. The white boy did all the work. The black people wasn't able to do nothing. It just was some white savior. He won. At the end of the day, he must have became rich and all. Like, I was just like, I already heard the story. But then I wanted to make the video for you guys. So I was like, how am I going to make the video and I ain't finished the whole movie? So I said, well, let's turn it back on. I grabbed my trusty little remote and was like, come on, Fire Stick, fire it on up. So I went back in and I finished to watch it. Well, it's good that I did, because what I learned was that the white guy, his name in the movie is Matt Steiner. Matt decided that he wanted to run a bank too. And so he convinced these two guys, Bernard and Joe, that they should let him run one of the banks, that they should purchase another bank, let him run that bank. And then, you know, because he had been working so hard for them, he wanted to do it himself. They didn't think it was a good idea in the beginning, but they did give in. They gave my man a bank. I'm sorry, y'all. I was looking for my water, but I don't know. I must have left it in my purse. Don't worry about it. We back at it. Okay, so I was thirsty. Anyway, so they give him a bank. Matt's wife, though, she doesn't really care for the black people. Like, she just not happy that her husband works for the black people. And so she starts some shiesty business, letting everybody know that these banks are owned by black people. White people wanted to pull their money out the banks. And next thing you know, like the people who come, the controller, I don't know, people who come to check on banks was coming through and checking all the loans and all of that stuff. Matt was not smart enough to know what the loans really meant and all this stuff. So he started doing some bad business at the banks that the black people did not know he was doing. They got in trouble. They had to go to court. When it was time to go to court, basically what the court system was trying to say was, there was a lot of things that was going on as far as banking, where there were loopholes that these guys were able to get into that should not have allowed black people to be able to get into banking, but Bernard and Joe figured that out, and so they were able to get in. So what they really wanted to do was be able to say that the rules for banking weren't okay, and that if they just admitted that the rules for banking weren't okay, that they could change the banking rules to basically keep black people from being able to get into banking. Okay? Well, when Bernard went to court, Bernard did not say that. They were okay, so the government was offering them a deal if they would just go in and say, hey, you guys have some very loose banking rules, you should change your banking rules, and then we wouldn't be able to do any of this. But Bernard went in and was like, listen, the problem is that y'all keep on trying to keep black people down. You don't want black people to get forward, and we figured out how to do it, and you're mad, and boo, period, poo. Okay, that's basically what they was trying to say. That's what he said. Well, that didn't make the system very happy. So what they did was they gave them both 3 years in prison. They took all their money and all their property and everything, because I guess basically they were trying to say that it was like there was some fraud. I don't really understand it. You got to watch it if you can. But the good thing about all of that was there was one property that they could keep because it was in Bernard's wife's, Nia Long's character. It was in her name. So they got to keep one of the properties. Also, Bernard was smart enough to speak to the white guy, because the white guy was told that because he was the face of all of this, he was told that if he didn't cooperate with the government and say that this all was Bernard and Joe's plan, that they would give the white guy 50 years in prison. He called Bernard and said, this is what the deal is. This is what they telling me I got to do. Bernard said, do what's best for your family. So the white guy testified that I just did what Bernard and Joe told me to do. That was his testimony. But what he did also do was he made a deal with Bernard that before they seized all of their money, what's his name? Matt, because he was still a banker and could give out, could help with some things, he bought property in Jamaica for Joe and Bernard. And so he also wired some money down to Jamaica as well. So when Joe and Bernard got out of prison after their 3-year sentence, Bernard, Joe, and Eunice moved to Jamaica. While they were in Jamaica, they just built their wealth back up because they're smart businessmen. And then they came back to the United States and they bought property all over again. And basically, it was a happy ending story, okay? This was a true story. It is based on 3 men who actually did do this brilliant plan, and all of that happened. And you guys have to watch the story or look it up. You could do your Google ready to go ahead on and tell you all about it and watch it. I thought that these guys played these roles very well, and although of course they did use the white guy, he wasn't the savior in this movie. They just kind of used him, and he wasn't as smart as he thought he was, which was the thing. He never treated them like they were less than. It wasn't like he was saying, like, y'all ain't that smart, you need me. He didn't feel like he was smart enough, and he really wasn't smart enough to do what they were able to do. He needed them a lot, and he needed them a lot more than he even thought, because once he had learned the stuff that they taught him, he thought that he knew all there was to know about banking. And that's why when he had his own bank, they all got into trouble, because he really did not know. He didn't understand loans enough. He didn't understand money enough. He didn't understand the laws of banking enough, and he didn't understand, how to protect himself, these guys, and the bank that he was running. And so the white guy was not the savior. He was the downfall, actually, of all of this plan that they had put together. Would I say watch it? Absolutely. If I would have stopped from the middle, I would have been like, nah, man, they just got this white guy just doing all the work and getting the fame and doing all this stuff. But because I watched it to the end, I thought it was a really good movie as well. Now, if you don't have Apple TV, I don't know how you can see this. I'm sorry. I am sorry. But I didn't make the rules. They did. So you got to go ahead on and call one of your friends and ask them if they got Apple TV. I mean, I know it's, we're supposed to stay in the house or whatever, but you are allowed to go over somebody's house. I don't think we have it down to no visitors yet. So if you know somebody else who has it, go ahead on over there. Y'all can watch it because it can be a good time. You could do a quick little lock in and chill, I guess. Keep your clothes on, though. And then watch this movie. Also, binge watch all my videos because you already here. Don't forget, guys, I'm watching all kind of stuff. I'm trying to tell y'all what's going on. I'm putting up videos all the time. If you made it to the end of this video, give me this sign, the girl to be like this, give me that. Give me your person so that I know that you watched it. I appreciate it. Comment down below, subscribe up above, and tell your friends to tell friends that I'm here, because we talking about all kind of stuff while we are on lockdown. And remember, guys, you can have fun even though you're locked in, but that's just me. And I'm just saying.